Hello, hi, welcome to AfterBuzz TV. We have an exclusive shot for you guys with, of course, the creator and writer, Mr. James LaRosa, and of course, Jodi Lyn O'Keefe, who plays Lionel. So this is really fun that we get to talk to you before the episode gets to air. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I already know you're not going to reveal any secrets. Lessons have been learned, but I tried already. I've tried.
You've been told.
I have been told. So we'll start with this instead. Do you already have like the finale planned out ahead of time and then you just go backwards? Or do you write bullet points and then let the pen go from moment to moment when you're creating the season?
The first thing I do is actually the final scene. So that's the very first thing I do, and then I work backwards from that. And so I'll have like kind of posts in the middle, places I want the characters to go. That's the stuff that you kind of fill in between. Like, you want someone to get real damaged, or you want someone to have this big sort of emotional sort of cathartic thing in different places. And that's the stuff you fill out. But you basically, I like to really just work from the back.
So is there any extra pressure? I'm just going to address. He likes to work from the back, guys. You heard it right here.
July 10th on BET.
Right?
Don't we all?
So, but wait, I have to ask you.
We should probably just, goodbye. No.
Interview done. So no, okay, I have to ask you, with there being a year off and then coming back with half of your cast as brand new faces, was there any extra pressure coming in without the cast that pretty much laid down the foundation of the show?
Well, I feel like more than half the cast actually is back, which is great. And we definitely are missing a few people who, different. The challenge of coming back for another season was reassembling, like, the Avengers, as I call them, and getting the cast back together. And I think we're actually really successful in getting most of the cast back. There are a few people who I would have loved to have continued the story on. That wasn't in the cards. But what that did was it gave us an opportunity to, writers, we like to, bend our minds a little bit and create new characters that will challenge the people like Jodi, who we're very happy to have come back, give them some new players to bounce off against and see what that can bring out. And so you actually get to see, as a result, some really exciting new kind of nooks and crannies of Derek and Jude and Lionel and Kyle, just by having some of this new energy.
Right, and for you, what was your reaction? I'm sure a lot of people thought that the show was going to be canceled. So when you got the phone call, what was your initial thought?
I was so happy. I just knew forever. And I've always said this to James. I said, where there's a will, there's a way. And I know that James LaRosa is going to have this show back on the air. It's his baby. He created it. And we're such a tight-knit family. And we were all so thrilled. And I think I said to you, even at the end of our last season, I was like, we're not done. Don't you worry.
Yeah, Jodi's a witch. Pretty much whatever she says comes true.
Which is good. I'm just going to keep going with that. So 4 more seasons?
Sure.
At least?
At least.
Okay, good.
I'll take it. So we've gotten to see different sides of Lionel, too, from playing hardball with Oscar to also being a little bit more kind and supporting with Jude. What type of layers do we get to peel back in season 4?
Well, this year Lionel is single. So we get to see the sexy layer of Lionel this year. And that's the first thing that James told me. He said, great news. Great news. You're single. And that's all he would tell me, because he keeps the audience guessing, but he also keeps all of us guessing. So we don't find out until right before we're ready to shoot things, a lot of the time.
So wait, then what about the backstory behind Lionel? I know when you initially came on, obviously I'm sure, James, you told her a little about who Lionel is, but yes. how much of that did you actually create that we didn't get to see?
How much did I create? Well, I'm going to say it's a 50-50 split between what James graciously gives me all the time and then what I do on my own time to come up with Lionel. And, she's a reflection of women I've known and women I haven't known. It's a little bit of me and then a little bit of a lot of other people.
But do you go really far back, like into childhood, like she was scorned by her father and so now she's defensive or needs attention?
Yes, there's things about her that, like her relationship with men. It's very interesting. So I did create a little bit of a backstory for her and her relationship to men and why, in fact, she was so obsessed with Pete and why she needed the relationship to work and all of that. So I think she hasn't had a positive male figure in her life.
Gotcha. Yeah. And James, I know that your writing team consists of all women. Was that a conscious choice or was it the best writer got the job?
Kind of both, to be honest. Our first season was directed completely by women, and there is something about doing a show like this and having kind of lady bosses that works out really well for us. I think that it allows our female performers to feel empowered and free to kind of go to different places, and it allows our male actors, I think, to go places that maybe sometimes guys aren't really allowed to be as emotional as they can and should be. And having so much female energy kind of in charge, I feel like allows different things to come out of different performers. This season, all female writing staff, but part of that is because, as Jodi mentioned, Hit the Floor is a big family, and so when we came back, I got back most of my writers. And so Holly Henderson, Sarah Fahey were writers last season. Kristen Saber has written for us in the past, and this was her first season as a staff writer. Carla Waddles was a new hire who comes from sitcom, and if there isn't a bigger sitcom than Hit the Floor. And so it kind of was a happenstance, but it was fantastic. And if you could hear the stuff that was said in that writer's room, I mean, A, pure filth. And B, the laughter, and I've just never had an experience like that before. And so I think more shows should do it, to be honest.
And the great thing about Hit the Floor, I think, is that you guys have such a huge social media following. And nowadays, a lot of times fans, we're just going to stop them and say your eyes just look so beautiful right now. It's really distracting.
Can we pretend that was a distraction?
Okay,
great.
Yeah, I was staring deeply. You have beautiful eyes too, so. But you're welcome.
I distracted her. That was me. That was these.
Those honey golden eyes of his. So what I was going to say, though, is nowadays I think that social media and fans can really influence a network's decision. They get upset, a show gets canceled, they're all over Twitter. Now the Hit the Floor fans happen to do a little something for your network. So how much of their influence do you think had impact on the show coming back?
Clearly, Hit the Floor, for me, I've always said, is a show that the fans built. When we premiered, we had a great number. It was wonderful. But every single episode, I think except for one, grew and grew and grew throughout the whole season. So fans found us, and fans would bring their friends to watch, because this show is very inclusive. It's fun. Dark stuff happens on the show, but there's not really a character who you're like, oh my God, like I just really need them to suffer because they're just misery. I mean, there is a level of sort of fun in the show, and there's also fun behind the scenes. There's fun on social media. So we really have embraced everyone the way that they've embraced us, and we're very appreciative of the fans. And so after season 3, of course, because it's Hit the Floor and the Hit the Floor fans, and nobody just goes, dear network executive, there was the thongs for Hit the Floor 4 campaign. I don't know what other show has had thongs sent to network executive, but
we're not talking about the thongs that go on your feet.
No.
We're talking about the panty thongs that were sent in to bring Hit the Floor back.
These aren't the flip-flops.
No.
Panties, and we'll bring back the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And here we are. So thank you for your undergarments.
Thank you for your panties.
And I mean, that was such a brilliant idea. Where did that idea come from?
I believe it was you.
What?
And I believe that as we all sat there at AfterBuzz and you said, thongs, let's all send thongs, I was like, there's no way that's going to happen. And then cut to the network president going, I just got another box of thongs from India. Like, what? Like, these things were coming from all. This was actually a good education for me to know what are thongs like in Europe? How are they in South America? What's the style down there? Because they were coming from everywhere.
That's amazing.
So thank you. So thank you.
Eat it.
Now she was distracted by my eyes again. She decided to beat me in the face.
All right. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. So excited. Of course, it's all for you guys, the fans. Thank you for doing thongs for Hit the Floor. And, of course, thank you for joining us on What? I'm having a hard time. Eyes everywhere. Beautiful. Distracting. But thank you for joining us on AfterBuzz TV for this exclusive look at Hit the Floor Season 4.